Hey everybody, what's going on? I know that I haven't recorded a regularly scheduled episode in a little while, and I apologize for that. Things have been super crazy after Comic Palooza and a move, summer starting, and my daughter literally has to be just everywhere. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Killing me. And I apologize because I am 100% behind on all of my books. So sorry about that. I am several weeks behind, but I had the opportunity to do something very special for y'all, and I promised that I would get this out for you guys. And here it is, an interview with Erika Lewis, one of the co-writers of the story Firebrand that is up on Webtoon and currently just had volume 1 of their first season release in trade paperback, which you can get now at all the places, I guarantee you. Check out the story. It's really great. It touches the feels. It feels real, and it's really, really well written. The art is really, really good. It's a good story. And if you're not on Webtoon, here is another reason to be on Webtoon. So here's the interview with Erika Lewis, co-writer of Firebrand. Check it out.
It's nice to do that. It's kind of like going to Comic-Con with comics, you know? You
Right.
just connect with people who are reading your material, which is nice.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and when I talked to Kim at Comic Palooza, I had no idea that there was that kind of readership for Webtoon. That blew my mind. The lines were there was not a line for anything else like there was for Webtoon. It was amazing.
Oh, at Comic-Con?
At
At the actual Comic-Palooza?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Webtoon has a huge following. It's interesting because we were at oh my God, there's so many conventions. I was at Keystone, I think. It was Keystone where Webtoon had a huge booth and the lines were just around the block and they had a whole panel that was like all Webtoon, and it was probably the most attended there. It was crazy. It's a huge following. I don't know how many subscribers there are in the app now in the US, but it's probably more than sadly are at the comic shops copying out the trades, right?
Oh,
And the single issues.
most definitely.
So.
I think it was somewhere around 10 million
Wow.
total.
I thought it was like 3. That's
I
impressive.
I think that's a total number, so it's probably a worldwide thing. But still, I mean, I don't. I'm not sure DC can boast there are that many readers that are consistently reading DC books, but
Oh, no way. No, no, not even there are a few books that can boast numbers like, you know, some of their biggest, yeah,
several
there's no way. I
thousand.
mean, yeah, a good run on a trade or a graphic novel, even if it's, probably the biggest of the, I can't imagine it's anywhere close to 100,000. I mean, they're probably in the 30,000 range.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I know that there are some episodes on Webtoon I've looked and I'm just like, oh, tens of thousands of likes, and it's just, I think it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great instant feedback too.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, let's see. Since that was a good opener and a good audio test.
Okay, good. There you go. Knock two birds out with one stone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's see. Make sure everything's good. Yes, everything's awesome. All right, we're good to go. So I know that I was told 30 minutes. I will definitely do my best to watch the timer here to keep it on that. I know you've got. How many other interviews have you done today?
There was one after this at 5, and then the other one's already done.
So. Okay. How many have you done just today?
Oh, I did one earlier.
Okay.
So that's it.
So it's not been one of those crazy days where you're already exhausted.
Oh no, not at all. No.
Oh, that's good. Let's see. Okay, well, I like to keep it light, tight, and bright. So I'll,
Okay.
ask you a few questions specifically about the book, the story, you, and then I've got a couple of questions that I ask every interviewer I do. It's nothing too far out there, and
Okay.
obviously nothing political, nothing that's going to stretch your beliefs. Uh,
There's not much that does that.
I don't.
I live in
Oh, well.
LA. There you go.
um. So let's go ahead and get started. Tell me about
Okay.
Firebrand.
Firebrand. Firebrand is a coming of age story, a young adult story about a young woman named Natalie Pisano, who is a witch. She is very much a reluctant witch, especially when she is younger, because she is growing up with in her father's house with kind of an evil stepmother who doesn't really have a lot of patience for weird stuff that happens. Um, and because he's a politician and she's pushing him to be more of a politician. And there you go, a little bit of our world stepping into
Mm-hmm.
it. Um, but when she's 8, some catastrophe strikes, and that's kind of where we introduce the story in season 1 and in the trade that just came out. And she's basically, when catastrophe strikes, she has to make a choice: either be standing away and feel like she's going to be locked up, or run away. And she chooses, of course, like we all would, to just kind of bolt. And that sort of sets off her journey into becoming what ultimately is a protector, a person who is responsible in the Sorgan world, which is the Basque word for witch. In the Sorgan world, she protects humans from people like themselves that have turned to the dark side, that are living in our world. So she comes back with her aunt to Seattle, who is her mentor. She's the apprentice at the time we meet her, and it sort of takes off from there. It's all set in Seattle, mainly anyway. And then we go back and forth from a hidden city that's in the Basque Mountains called Eder, where the witches sort of, hid themselves during the Spanish Inquisitions, when everything went haywire between the two worlds.
So tell me where you got inspiration for this story.
So when I was in, I guess, my junior or senior year of college, I'm trying to remember which now, it's been so long, I was living in London and traveling all over. My heritage is from Europe, all over the place, Eastern and Western. And I was traveling through the Basque Mountains, and there's an actual, this is like Celtic mythology, which is something else that I study a lot of and write about. There's a Basque mythology, and there's old sort of the gods and goddesses that existed with them. It's there's a little bit of a different kind of I don't know, what is the word I'm looking for? It's more of a little like Viking, but more female centric, in the sense that it's not so it's not just about, fear of waves, or, fear of lightning, or when you look at Norse mythology, there's a lot of things that can frighten you in nature that sort of touch on these gods and goddesses. Where in this particular case, it's a little bit more like Celtic mythology. It's just motherly driven. It's sort of, inspirational in terms of creator, as opposed to, giving birth and that kind of thing. So anyway, there's a cave that actually exists there that they believe was the goddess Mari's cave, and she inhabited it. And at the time, there were these little birds that supposedly could crawl up, called wall creepers, which are in her story as well. And so as I just remembered these stories and remember being around there. And then when I came back, we're talking 20 plus years later, as I was starting to write stories of my own and create things, I just sort of wanted to see if I could bring some of that to life, and play around with it a little bit, like, a la Greek mythology and Percy Jackson. So.
Oh, okay. So more Wonder Woman, less Thor.
Exactly. Yes, very much so. And I would throw in a little Sabrina the Teenage Witch too.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I can definitely see that. So, who's your favorite character to write?
In season 1, it was definitely Natalie. Getting into her voice, she is our main character, and she's temperamental and a little bit angry, feels betrayed, has trust issues, and things that I can put myself in, and so I had a real good time sort of exploring her world. And then as we got into season 2, some of the other characters have sort of developed their own storylines, and without spoilers, Lucan's girlfriend Mary and one of the housemates, Prin, both of them are probably my favorites to write. Just because their adventures have gotten so insane. Sometimes Natalie's storylines feel almost more sedate and real life, even though she's the witch compared to the other two. So yeah, so it's been fun.
So which one of your characters do you more closely associate with?
Let's see. I would probably say Natalie herself. She's probably the one that has a lot of my characteristics, for good and for bad. A little impulsive, I guess, is a good thing that we share. But she's probably the closest. It's funny. It's a funny thing because in her world with I came from the same kind of similar broken home, and so sometimes when I'm writing those storylines and sticking myself in her parents' positions as they come back into the story a bit, even as she's an adult herself at this point, it's kind of almost hard to write those storylines because it's like you have to see the other side of things and you don't want to.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, speaking of what's coming, what can you tell me about what's coming in season 2, without spoiling anything, obviously?
At the end of season 1, we left Lucan in a coma. At the end of season 1, there was Natalie's mother appeared to her in a vision form in the hospital.
Yeah, and then, I kind of double-taked when I read that part. I went, whoa, wait, what? Did that... Scroll back a little bit.
Yeah, and we've actually had 2 chapters go up now on Webtoon, and they're all like, what happened to the mother? And I'm like, be patient. It's coming. It's coming. Everybody's so in a hurry. They need all the answers. It makes me laugh. But yeah, there are things. One of the questions we got all the time is when the catastrophe strikes when she's really young and it's her fault. Her stepmother is injured and she's pregnant at the time, and they wanted to know, what happened to the baby?
Yes.
And, is she ever going to see her dad again? So all of those questions are answered in season 2. The questions about why was her mother there at the end of book 1 is also answered. We get into a lot of the story takes on where season 1 was very much establishing the world and sort of confronting these Guahona, which were like these soul-sucking vampires, basically, is what they are in the mythology. And so they were battling them and trying to save people in Seattle from these creatures, and then saving Lucan at the end. And that those creatures are still around, but as we get into season 2, the battle becomes much bigger, and the person that we're fighting becomes much bigger. And a lot of all of the characters that we met in season 1, whether it's Cheeky or whether it's Bedane, who went off to find a character named Saldo, who was also in season 1, those characters all come back in, and sort of it ends up all with this big craziness in Seattle. So yeah.
So what's it like knowing that every single one of these episodes has thousands of likes and thousands of readers?
It's a little bit nerve-wracking. It's great. It's exciting. My favorite thing to do is to actually go in there, and I know I shouldn't, but I read the comments because, for good or bad, you're like, and sometimes you feel really stupid because I'm not a teenager anymore. And literally I was like, I had to go ask my daughter what some terminology meant, that they were like, God, it sounds like they really hate this thing. And they're
I
like,
did
no, no,
that
no.
too.
She's like, that's good. I felt so silly. I was like, oh my God. Okay. I got to get the lingo down. But it's fun to go in and see what everybody thinks. It's nerve wracking. I mean, it's really fascinating to me what reach Webtoon has, because when I was at the Teen Book Con in Houston, I was signing my novel from Tor, and I had once I was done, the senior, I guess he was a junior senior in high school, was walking around with me and taking me back, like as a tour guide,
Mm-hmm.
and she was asking me about what else I write, and I was like, well, I write this thing called Firebrand. It's on Webtoon, and this was season 1 had been out for like, I don't know, maybe most of it was up. I don't even know if it was finished yet for season 1. And this was over a year ago. And she was just like, oh my God, you write Firebrand? And I'm like, how do you know what that is? And then I realized that I probably have more people reading Firebrand than ever read my book. It's sort of a funny thing, because you're like, oh, right, yes. And my daughter plays ice hockey, and one of her teammates was asking me like, oh, she's like, I love Firebrand. I'm like, that's great. It's just like, you just don't know, because it's not like you just look in the phone and you're just looking at like, hearts that people like. It's like Instagram,
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's like you're looking at it and going, did anybody actually read that, or did they just click the
I know.
like because they saw it and they're just clicking like as they scroll through it?
I don't know. The comments always tell me exactly,
Oh, sure.
what people are pretty good on the comments. So.
Well, that's hey, and comments, good or bad, is hopefully constructive criticism, if nothing else.
Yeah, I never take it. It's kind of like getting a bad review for a book. Yeah, everybody has.
Not everybody's gonna like it.
Not everybody, no, and not everything is for everybody.
Sure.
Otherwise, we'd all be reading the same kind of books, and where I would love something, my husband would think it was awful. I mean, we just don't have the same taste in anything, and that's okay. That's why you have different people writing different things. So yeah, I mean, I don't feel bad ever when I get a negative review about something. That's just a part of putting yourself out there.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I feel you there.
Yeah.
So what got you into comics?
Oh, well, I started reading comics when I was a kid. I think my first ones were like Fantastic Four, and I liked the brother sister arguing all the time, because it was kind of like our house. And I just, would slowly get in, mostly the Marvel characters, I have to admit. I like the DC characters a lot too, but they were kind of darker.
Mm-hmm.
And I always liked the humor. And then, Archie's and Sabrina's as I got, the old ones. My mother had like closets full of the stuff. I used to just go through them. And then as I got older, just in terms of like the genre of stuff, we all moved into video games and,
Mm-hmm.
and the incredible movies, and special effects got so much better. I think I've always been much more into fantasy and sci-fi than realistic fiction, or although I kind of nowadays I kind of read it all, but as far as writing it, I was actually working for G4. You remember the network G4?
I remember G4 back before they were when they were Tech TV. I remember G4.
Yeah, right. So
I'm that many years old.
I wasn't at Tech TV, but I was in charge of, I guess you'd call it in-house production, in charge of the studio at G4 TV. So I was in charge of explaining Attack of the Show, and and then all the live events at E3 and Comic-Con, and any kind of new development that was inside the studio itself. And so I just, I started, it was great because, I get to go through all of the freshies at Blair Butler's desk and take her comics, and and we'd all walk over on Wednesdays and get what we needed. And it was sort of a thing. And then it just kind of kept going from there. And then I started writing them because I just, had been working in scripted television for a while, and then I ended up working on stuff that was more, I don't want to call it reality based, but live action, or it's live itself. it was different kind of hat. So I was used to being a part of creating characters and worlds and all that. And so I wanted to start doing it for myself, writing my own stuff. And so I wrote my first graphic novel that was published when Grant Morrison was editing Heavy Metal magazine recently, I guess about 3 years ago. And it's a graphic novel called The 49th Key that they then published as a full-on trade. And that was exciting. And then I started writing Firebrand and lots of other things.
So you've been around for a while. You've seen
a
some stuff.
Bit. I've seen some stuff a little bit. Yeah.
So working in comics and reading comics for a long time, what would be your dream comic book character to write?
I used to think that I have two hats for this. I have dream characters. I would love to write Wonder Woman, but she's also been written really well recently. That's what I would have said before. There's a lot of things that, there's a character in the Marvel Universe, Elsa Bloodstone, and she hasn't been done.
She hasn't been done in a long time.
And I think she's back in a long time. I think she's been in a few of the newer issues that have come out that are, and I'm trying to remember which ones they are, where they're, I'm trying to remember what she's been folding into, but there's like ones where she's just popping up every once in a while. But that's a character I would really like to do, is sort of a really cool, almost like, because she was a monster hunter and she lived in this house and there was this vampire butler. It was like this really cool storyline, and I've always wanted to bring that back and almost give it like a Doctor Who kind of touch to it, where she's traveling through time and doing these different monsters. And but everything has to fit into the Marvel Universe wheelhouse. They have a master plan, so
sure.
You never know. Yeah, that would be a fun one to do, though.
Hey, I
hasn't been out in a long time.
You've already got a reader right here. I'm interested in that. That's
there. Okay, cool. Good.
So, you've got your dream character to write. Now, Marvel has thrown a truckload of money at you and says, build a team to write this book with you. Who's on that team?
In terms of writing?
Writing, artistry, penciling, ink, whoever.
Oh, boy. Let me think. That's an interesting question. On the writing side, I mean, I don't know. I've always written everything myself. Let's see, for Elsa Bloodstone. Well, I like working a lot with Carol Behrman, being for John. Carol, she's John's sister, John Behrman's sister. We worked together on Accursian, so she would be great. I mean, look, there's lots of really, huge writers out there in comics that I could pull from, but I know this is going to sound strange, but for me, it's always with the people that I've worked with the closest. So I know I probably should be throwing out like, Jim Lee for the art and, but for me, it's always, I don't know. I don't actually have that. I just want to try out, work with people that I've worked with together for a while and that I know I can build something amazing out of it, Claudia is amazing. Working with Claudia is incredible.
Hey, I ask everybody the same question, and everybody's always going, I mean, the people that I'm working with right now are really great. It's like,
I know. It's true.
A couple of people have thrown out some really obscure names that's just like, I had to go look that person up, and I don't know who that person is. And it's like...
Look, I could throw out Jeff Johns, but first of all,
sure.
He's always busy.
And that guy, oh my... I don't even know if that guy sleeps anymore.
I know. And B, I mean, I've never actually worked with him like that before, so it could turn out he might hate me by the time it's all said and done. At least I know these people are going to want to keep working with me, right? So there's that.
Okay. Well, how long do you see yourself writing Firebrand?
Well, we're actually almost coming to the end of season 2 on the writing side. So I think we've got like 5 chapters left, if that. We're almost to the end of season 2. So, we have a whole nother season planned out. because we work with Legendary, they have to pick it up. There was a bit of a time lag between, and the fans, they're so awesome. They would like constantly hit me up on Instagram or on Twitter. When are we getting the next season of Firebrand? I'm like, I don't know, because it's not like me in my room and I'm just turning it out. It's they order it, and it's like the ordering of a TV show. We
Right.
wait until they say, okay, it's time to go. So I'm hoping that we get another season. I think this one has been doing, so far only 2 chapters have gone up on season 2. And the first trade just came out. So, I'm hoping that they don't, slow it down the way we did the last time, because it just took a while to get the answer. But, working with every studio out here, it always takes a while to find out. So I'm hoping we get at least 1 or 2 more seasons, It could go on forever. I could write it forever.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, if you can write it forever, look at these numbers here. I'm seeing thousands upon thousands of likes, and it's like, I don't see why they wouldn't keep doing it.
I hope so. Well, there you go. I'll make sure they know you said that.
Hey, if at any point in time I hear that it might not get picked back up, trust me, I will rally the troops, and I'm sure that because you've got a bigger army than I do right here. But I could probably add another 2 or 3 more. That
Get him to storm the castle.
yes.
Or the Burbank offices, anyway.
Yeah, and get the writers to kind of look out and go, oh, that's a lot of angry teenagers. That's
Exactly.
Well, that's all the questions I had, and we're just a little bit under time. Thank you so very much for doing this and coming on and answering questions, and this was a great interview. I really enjoyed talking with you.
This has been great for me too. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, not at all. When I got the email that was like, I have an opportunity to email, Erika Lewis, and I was like, yes. And she was like, I don't know if Jessica's gonna be there. I was like, no, that's fine. I'm totally fine. No, they don't have to both be there. That's
yeah, it is sometimes fun to have us both on the phone, just because we tend to talk off of each other, and it just gets a little bit crazy animated, which is fun. But yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, I have the feeling that if I had the both of you on the phone, there's no way we would have stopped at 30 minutes.
No, that's probably true. You wouldn't have gotten a word in edgewise for a bit.
Hey, it would have been totally fine. Hey, the less I have to say and the more you have to say, that's podcasting gold for me. That's
There you go.
Well, thank you very much, and
thank you.
I hope you guys continue to do this, and I'm going to continue to read it. And this is good stuff. I'm liking it, and I'm
good.
well beyond my teenage years.
Excellent. Thank you.
So hopefully at some point or another down the road, we'll be able to have you on again and talk about more stuff, or maybe something else you've started writing, possibly.
Yeah. Yes. I actually have a new novel series pending, but it hasn't been announced yet. So.
Oh, you heard it here, folks. She's got a new one coming out, but it's no name yet.
Coming. Hasn't been announced yet. So.
All right. Well, thank you, and you have a good evening and a good rest of the week.
You too. Thanks.
Right, bye.
Take care. Bye.